I now would like to pass the baton to John Morris, who not only is a director of our Food 1200, but is a farmer and is already working and providing land to a fantastic couple of regenerative farmers. So, John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Adam, and welcome everybody. It's really great to see so many people here. I'm not going to speak for a long time because I think questions are very important as we go forward at the end. And I just have a few pictures that I'm going to put up as we go through the chat. Just myself, I have a 70-acre organic farm here near Brecon, and I've always been keen on diversification in agriculture and other areas of farming, simply because you have to make a living, and it's very difficult to make a living, as those people know, out of 70 acres. So over the years, we've diversified as other farms have, into cottages and things like that. And our most recent one was the diversification into making apple juice, having picked apples from farms around the area. We've been doing that for 10 years, and now my son's taken that over. But we have been very fortunate as a business to have received a royal warrant from the Prince of Wales, because he is a very good supporter of this type of agriculture. Anyway, enough about me. I want to speak today really about, and to the people who are considering perhaps renting out land or whatever. And it's a concept of land use. I mean, there's always been rental of farmland for generations, so it's not unusual. But I think we need to understand, and I want to tell you warts and all really, that it is not simply just saying, oh, you can have that field and then I'll have it back in 2 years or 5 years or whatever. It is a bigger commitment for farmers, I think, because of the infrastructure change that is required, particularly for horticulture. And I think what is vital there is the partnership between the farmer or the landowner and the prospective tenants. So what I did right at the start, I knew of this organization, and I knew of this these two people that I now rent the land to. They were desperately looking for some land to start a business. I was at the age where I think I was moving back from doing a lot of farming, and it's suited me. But I think what is one thing I'll say to every landowner: it is vital that you put this on a business footing from the start, and that you're honest with each other. Otherwise, it gets, it could get completely out of hand, because it is a bit of a leap of faith for a traditional farmer renting land. It requires a good fit and a good understanding between the landowner and the tenant. And the other thing I would say is, it probably at that stage you need an exit plan as well. That might be a bit unusual, but remember, you are not actually lending, you're not doing grass keep for 6 months or 12 months or whatever. You are committing your land for, I would say, at least 2 years, and preferentially 5 years, to be used by somebody else. And you must remember that, and that's vitally important. So an exit plan of what happens if things go wrong, or what happens if they decide not to continue, is vital. Just reorganizing the field afterwards or whatever. Can you put the first slide up, Sue, please? Just give me a minute for it to come up.
How's that?
That looks good. Okay, right. This was the field in question, and obviously it was all grass at one time. Like the top of the field here is some hay. That was the field that we chose. One of the important parts was it had access, or easy access anyway, and that's the A40 just running down there. Unfortunately, I don't own any of the flat land. I own all the steep land behind us. So that was the only bit of flat land I had. So it was quite a quick commitment for me. But having talked to the Langtons and seen a business plan, which evolved into what you see now, I thought, well, this might work. And everybody, I think, will be saying, well, how much you charge for that, John? I went again, I thought, right, what is that field worth to me as a farmer? And so I worked out what it went, with the subsidies, with the the land use, the grazing, the hay, and I worked out a figure that it was worth to me, and we came to an arrangement. I'm not going to tell you what it is today. It is more than just land grass keep or land rent. I can tell you that, but it has to be fair on both sides. You can't charge too much, otherwise it just makes the business unviable. Okay, so then we went through, David and myself, we went through quite an extended conversation. We set up initially a 2-year farm contract for them. And if you look at the bottom of the slide here, where the hay is, I have, in the first few years, they weren't going to use the whole field. They had put their organic chickens on there. And obviously I had a good crop of hay, and that was part of the deal as well. So it wasn't just cash deal, okay, but it suited me to feed to my cattle. I'm going to move on very quickly because I know time's running out, but I am happy to talk to anybody who wants to have advice about what I experienced and whatever. And I think that's very, very useful. You need to go into this with your eyes open. Suitable land, yes, you do have to have land that is suitable, but it all depends what people want to grow on it. You may have somebody looking to develop orchards or something, which will be, you won't need such flat land possibly. And I'll go back to, it has to be a good fit between the landowner and the tenant, and that we have to be on a business footing. If you could go through the slides now and just shoot through there. This is
Sorry, do you want me to go back one, John?
yeah, no, go on, that's fine. This is just because I just want to get the picture of the Langtons, because before I introduce them, there they are. These are two young, keen, knowledgeable, and hardworking people.
I'm Katherine. This is my husband David. You saw our farm a minute ago on the aerial photo. We rent from John, who's you heard a minute ago. What are we saying about?
It does take a huge leap of faith. I think for the landowner and the grower. For example, you can put 50,000, 100,000 pounds into a business like this without too much thought, and you've got to hope that you're here for the next 5 or so years. And obviously, as John says, you do need some kind of exit strategy, and so we settled on a 2-year lease, which simplified things. And the field would be relatively easy to turn back to a field, but there would be £1,000 or so probably of costs to do so, because for our polytunnel, the ground was leveled a bit for that, and you lose a year of protection from the fact that there's not a lot of grass left in the growing section. I think for growers, it's important to sort of consider the fact that you don't own the land and be respectful in that matter. So, for example, we don't bury plastic to sort of in the ground or anything like that, and everything we do is in a mind that it's temporary. Even if temporary is 10 years, it's still temporary, and that if need be, it could be reverted back to farmland. But yeah, we've been really, really lucky, both with the location and with John, who's really supportive. I think that's an important thing. I think that landowners, it would be nice if they went into it with the mindset that occasionally the rent the market garden will need help with certain things, advice with certain things. You know, it's things like tractors and that are very big investments. So, and you don't tend to need them for a market garden. So, John's always willing to give us a hand if we need one. And more often than not, it's just it's advice more than anything. I think that especially with new entrants, I mean, we haven't done farming before, so there's a huge amount of advice that we've been able to ask from John for. I think that's really important. It's just it's much better than the sort of renting and then you just see each other once a year when the money's due. It's not that kind of relationship with us and John and Margaret. So it's very involved, I'd say, as much as anyone wants it to be.
Great, lovely.
I guess on the note of rent that John made, I mean, like technically, I suppose it is higher, just market gardens in general, and also, you know, our rent is higher than what you'd expect from just, you know, pasture raised. I mean, you're looking at 100 plus an acre to 200 plus an acre for if it's organic. But, you know, a market garden, you're looking at between sort of 200 and 500 acres, depending on the size. But I'd say that that's important for the landowner, because, as John was saying, this is his only flat field. You're losing the use to use it for a significant amount of time. But also for the renter, don't worry too much, you know, if it's 300, 400, 500 pound an acre, because don't sort of try and stick to the fact that because I mean, I spend more on.
Oh no, we're still connected on here.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
We spend more on compost for the beds, more on compost for the plants, more on seeds, more on irrigation, more on water, individually, not combined, but each one of those costs more than the rent. It's you've got to look at it at a big picture. Rent is probably going to cost 5 to 10% the total costs, and finding a good plot of land is more important than necessary one worrying about whether it's £100 an acre, £200, £300.